I'm going to finally address this question. Hey, what do you think about these presets that we have, these game genre presets? Because I always say, I have no idea. I've never used them. I see that they're changing the white and the black stabilizer, but the other day somebody told me, hey, even if you change the white and black stabilizer setting for each of them, they are still going to change the colors, and that's true. So I see that the color red is clipping. Okay, what is clipping? It's like you're losing details. It's too much saturation, you're losing details. So what I'm going to do on this video is I am going to test live, so I don't know the result of this test. What I'm going to do is I am going to test how much is that color red clipping. And let's see how much I can increase the saturation before I start losing details if I use one of these presets. So let me show you what I did here. I selected each of them, so FPS, RPG, and I changed the black and the white stabilizer to the default 10, okay? So basically there shouldn't be any difference with them when you change the black and the white stabilizer to 10, but there is a difference. And I tested recording this with my phone close, but the phone is not able to capture that difference. But what you will be able to see is the red clipping pattern. It's a color clipping pattern that is flashing that you can see on the recording. But you cannot see the difference here, but I can see it. So when I change here, let me go here so I can change it easier. So when I change it here from standard to RTS, I see the color red here changing. And it's obvious, but the camera is not picking that up. So it changes on RTS, it stays the same on RPG, stays the same on FPS, boom, and it changes back on standard. So basically, any of these presets that is not standard is changing the clipping point of the color red. So now, the settings that I am using right now are pushing all the brightness. I have the contrast max out, which is going to clip the colors. Of course, I am not clipping colors because of the saturation level that I am using. But if this is changing the clipping point, then I have to be careful with the settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this video, this YouTube video, which is a clipping pattern. And I'm gonna show you how the color red disappears with the settings that I am using right now. So you see that I cannot use those settings and play with this FPS and all that. So then I would need to change my settings. And what I want to find out is how much are these settings clipping the colors. So let's take a look at it. You see the color red flashing? Right now it is flashing. So if I change from standard to RTS, boom, the color red is disappearing. Let me take a look at the recording, see if that is being captured. Yeah, it is being captured very, very clear. So from standard, take a look at this color red. It is flashing here, which is good. This is flashing. If I change, boom, everything, so all of this is clipping, okay? So it is changing the clipping point. It is increasing the saturation of the colors. And green is also clipping, which is weird. If the green is clipping, that means that this is changing the colors big time, okay? So let's do this. I'm going to change from my settings. And by the way, I am using right now native color gamut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from native color gamut to auto. So you see that the same happens. Now, this is not because I am using native color gamut. I'm going to do that to show you. Let me open the color control app so I can change that locked setting, because LG has that setting locked for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Makes no sense. Actually, the C2 has that setting unlocked. On the C1 is locked for some reason. On PC mode, game optimizer mode is locked. So I'm gonna change here the color gamut to auto. You see that color red? Boom, the saturation is gonna change big time. So now let's see what happens. I'm going to come now to show you that it is on auto, and then I'm gonna change the preset. So you see how it is clipping, and it is clipping to the same extent. You see? This is the, you go to color gamut, auto detect. Okay? So I'm going to do the same. I'm gonna change this from standard, you see, from standard to RTS. So see, standard, you see this flashing, this color red here flashing. RTS, boom, is clipping. It's disappearing, okay? Same for RPG, same, boom, back to standard. You see, it's obvious. So now, I have the contrast maxed out. So let's see what happens if I just keep the default contrast setting. So let's say I keep this default contrast setting, and I have a 22-point calibration right now on game optimizer mode on SDR to use black frame insertion, and I have black frame insertion on right now on high, which doesn't affect this at all. The 22-point calibration could affect this, but what I am touching with the 22-point calibration is the near black signal level up to 30%. So this is the upper end of the grayscale. So what I'm doing with the calibration has no effect on this whatsoever. So this, the result of the testing should not be affected by my calibration. This does affect, could affect, no, I don't think it affects the color clipping at all. But just leave it at 50, just in case. So I have the contrast on 85, which is the default. Now let's go and change that preset. See what happened now. You see? Now it doesn't clip. Because the contrast is clipping the colors. So you have to make sure if you increase the contrast to get more, to clip the whites and to get more pop and more brightness, you have to make sure that you do not increase the color saturation too much, because then this will happen. So now, let me go back to the auto 55, which is like the default preset, because right now I have the saturation in 50. So let's change it to 55, which is the default saturation. So saturation 55, color gamut auto detect, and I have contrast on 85. So now if I come here and I change this, it is not clipping. It is fine. So now, does this look more saturated? Oh, whoa, let me, oh no. Man. Let me change to the game and let me let this ad play here. So now, let's see, because what I suspect is that what this is doing, it is probably going, yeah, it is definitely going beyond Rec 709. So by using color gamut on auto detect, the TV is clamping the color gamut to Rec 709, which is the color space of SDR. And that's correct. The TV color gamut should be set to auto detect for accurate SDR colors, okay? So what I believe is happening here is that this is set up in a way to just go beyond Rec 709, so it is going to look more colorful. So see, if I change here from standard to RTS, the color red is more colorful, for sure. So this might be the same, almost, not the same, but this is like native color gamut. So let's say you have that native color gamut locked for some stupid reason from LG, but you want a little bit more color saturation. You can just change this RTS setting to black and white stabilizer 10, so you don't change the white and the black stabilizer. I will do a separate video about that. I do not like those settings. I never use them. There's nothing, it doesn't help me to get better result. It just washes out the picture. So, but I will do a separate video about that. But let's say you want to get a little bit more color pop, a little bit more of a wider color gamut. I think this is a good option. So now, how does this compare with just using color gamut native? I don't know. And it would be almost impossible to know the difference. It might be the same. It might be in between Rec 709 and native. I just don't have a way to know, because yeah, I would need to test more with the clipping patterns to see if I can notice a difference. But that's what I think is happening here. From standard to RTS or to FPS, it looks the same to me. They all look the same. So anything that is not standard looks the same to me. And it seems to be pushing that color gamut wider than Rec 709. So I see it on the red. I also see it here on this purple. I see it on the yellow. I see it on the blue. It's happening for all the colors. This is happening big time here for this pink color. Big time. The change is obvious for this purple here. You know, between pink and purple, it's happening too. From standard, yeah, it's a big difference in the colors. So go for it if you like it. It is a quick way to change. I think it might be a quick way to change from Rec 709 to native and get a little bit more pop with the colors. So why not? It is not accurate, but who cares? So yeah, just give it a try. I think it is that's probably what's going on. If you know better, let me know. If you know exactly what these settings are doing, let me know. This is what I can see with my eyes and with these test patterns. So let me see if I can go back to the video. It's gonna be now. Let me see if I can go back to that video. Probably gonna get an ad. Okay, no. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, let me see now how much I can increase the color saturation. That's what I'm gonna do. So I have the colors right now on 55. What I want to do is increase the color. No, not the color saturation. Let me increase the contrast. See how much I can increase the contrast without clipping that red. It's clipping there. Let me change it to RTS. That's what I'm gonna do. Change it to RTS and now increase the contrast. See how much I can increase the contrast before that color red starts clipping. Yeah, basically 86. I cannot go over 85 basically. Huh. That's very interesting. I can go 86. But this might not be precise enough to show me clipping. So basically this is calibrated. This is interesting because this is calibrated in a way. This RTS preset, all these presets are calibrated in a way that the default contrast value is the maximum contrast that you can set. So if you go beyond 85, you're going to clip the colors. And that's something very good. So that means that they actually worked on this. It was not like, okay, let's just throw a rock. There was work behind this, because it is not a coincidence that after 85, you're gonna start clipping the color. Let me see if I can increase that color depth more. No. Wow. I cannot increase the color depth. You see, it's clipping. From 55 to 56, it's clipping. It is disappearing. These two bars are disappearing. Look at it. 55, boom, flashing. 56 is disappearing. Wow. That's wow. I think this is fantastic. Why? Let me explain why I think this is fantastic. Basically, if you have accurate settings for SDR, which is basically your BT1886, and the gamma is not gonna make any difference there. So let's say you have accurate settings. You have your SDR contrast 85, your gamma in BT1886. Let's say you have your brightness in 75, or brightness not gonna affect this OLED light, is not gonna affect that at all. But let's say you have your accurate settings, but you just want, and you are in standard, okay? But you just want to push the color gamut of the TV. You don't care about accuracy. You don't care about staying in Rec 709. You just want to push as much as possible the color gamut without clipping colors, without losing details. Boom, you just change it to standard or any of these modes, and you just make sure that the white and the black stabilizer, you change that to the default 10, because they're going to be with a different black and white stabilizer setting, and done. That, I think that's very, very good. I think that's fantastic. But I am not sure if the color gamut in native is going to push the colors more. I will need to compare that. I might do a separate video and compare that, because right now I don't know, and I believe that the color gamut native is somehow making the colors pop more without clipping, actually. But I will need to do that on a separate video. Yeah, I don't want to make this video too long. So yeah, interesting results. And I tested this right now with you. I didn't know. So this is as real as it gets. Let me know if you know better, if you still have a question, and yeah,